Welcome to A Healthy Curiosity, the podcast that explores what it takes to be well in a busy world. With self-care strategies from Chinese medicine, functional medicine, Ayurveda, neuroscience, and beyond. I'm your host, Brody Welch, a licensed acupuncturist and transformation catalyst, here to support you on your journey of health, happiness, and personal evolution. Hello, and thank you for tuning in this week to A Healthy Curiosity. It has been a tough week here in the United States. In addition to the global pandemic, which is disproportionately killing and affecting Black and Brown Americans, we've also seen profound injustice, murder, and abuse of power that results from institutionalized racism. So as I think about how to use this podcast as a vehicle meant to catalyze healing and empowerment, I was thinking today it shouldn't be business as usual. We should actually be talking about not tolerating something we shouldn't tolerate, right? Just as we aim to eradicate toxins and pathogens from our individual cells and from our individual ecosystems, we also need to eradicate the toxin that is racism that is present in our society. For my listeners of color, I'm not going to try and white-splain racism to you. You can feel free to skip ahead a few minutes while I talk to my white listeners in the audience. I know that I have a lot to learn, and I hope that my saying something, even imperfectly, is better than staying silent, because as white people, it is incumbent upon us to use our privilege to change a system that was set up to benefit white people and that is still causing harm to people of color each and every day. It starts with the yin work of looking within and looking at our own internal implicit bias, our own unconscious racism, and trying to bring that out of the shadows so that we can see it and eradicate it. It also is about listening to people of color and recognizing that we have a very different life experience that's informed because of our race, gender, and how people react to us because of it. There's also the yang dimension, the dimension of action, the dimension of the outer world. Anti-racist actions we can take include having conversations with other white people about race and racism. It can be about picking up the phone or writing a letter or an email to advocate for change. It can be donating money to anti-racist organizations led by people of color. It can mean amplifying the voices of people of color on social media, in any platform that we might have access to. It can be showing up at a protest and putting our bodies on the line. Asking ourselves, what concrete thing can I do today to advance the cause of justice and equality? And maybe how can I go beyond what might be comfortable? Because that's where we grow, right? It's where we grow in personal development is by taking risks, by acting in non-habituated ways. Perhaps it's even forming a habit of activism or of action, just like you might work on exercise or meditation with small steps over time that just become the new normal, that it becomes more comfortable to make a phone call. It becomes more comfortable to engage in these difficult conversations. And we can be taking these actions from a place of love and solidarity. It doesn't have to come from a place of anger. Though if it were my son or my husband or my brother who I had to worry about being killed simply by going through the course of his daily life, I would be angry, I would be outraged, and that would likely supersede any personal discomfort I felt in taking action. Being killed by a police officer is now a leading cause of death for young men in the United States, with Black men being 2.5 times more likely to be victims than white men. So today on the podcast, I am going to read a list of names and circumstances of Black people slain by police or others who've been victims of hate crimes. Of course, this is a very incomplete list, my source for which is NPR's Code Switch page. Eric Garner had just broken up a fight. Izelle Ford was walking in his neighborhood. Michelle Cousseau was changing the lock on her home's door. Tanisha Anderson was having a mental health episode, and her brother had called 911. Tamir Rice was playing in a park. Natasha McKenna was having a schizophrenic episode. Walter Scott was going to an auto parts store. Betty Jones answered the door to let Chicago police in to help her upstairs neighbor who had called 911. Philando Castile was driving home from dinner with his girlfriend. Botham Jean was eating ice cream in his living room in Dallas. Tatiana Jefferson was babysitting her nephew in Fort Worth, Texas. Eric Reason was pulling into a parking spot at a local chicken and fish shop. Dominique Clayton was sleeping in her bed, as was Breonna Taylor. And George Floyd was at the grocery store. Stephen DeMarco Taylor, Yasin Muhammad, Michael Brown, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, Terrence Franklin, Sean Reed, Ariane McCree, Miles Hall, William Green, E.J. Bradford, Michael Dean, Jamie Johnson, Antoine Rose, 13-year-old boy, Stephen Clark, Darius Tarver, Kwame KK Jones, Devon Bailey, and so many more. The lives of these men of color ended too early, and there's only going to be more names added to this list if more of us don't put our chi, our life force, into aligning with our values of equality and justice and love for one another. Like nearly any monumental task, it doesn't happen all at once, but persistent effort over time means that we will eventually see change. I'm including in the show notes for this week some anti-racist resources, which I'd invite you to check out over at brodywelch.com. That's Brody with an IE and Welch with a CH. Head to the podcast blog page where you'll find it there. Thanks so much for listening today, and I'll be back at you with the normal health and personal evolution stuff next week. Actually, it's going to be an amazing episode on Neurodharma with Rick Hansen, and I hope you'll tune in then. And I hope, for the love of God, I hope it's an easier week for all of us here in the United States and throughout the world. Love to you all. Thanks for listening today. To check out the show notes, get on my email list, or drop me a line, head to brodywelch.com. That's Brody with an IE and Welch with a CH. I'd love to hear from you. If you learned something new or feel inspired to try something different in your life, I'd love for you to pay it forward by sharing this episode with a friend who you think could also benefit and give them a reason to listen. You'll be helping to create a world where we encourage each other to embody self-respect. Till next time, be good to yourself.